had this thought. There's a story of Joseph in the Bible where Joseph had a vision of what God was going to do in his life. He decided to tell his brothers because I'm guessing those are the closest people that were there to him. Now, I've heard some people say that Joseph was boasting, or that he thought very highly of himself, and because he thought so highly of himself, he thought it was a good idea to boast in front of his brothers. And I'm assuming that that line of thinking is exactly the line of thinking that they had, because instead of listening to them, instead of being like, okay, why is he talking like this, they let their jealousy speak for them. The fact that he was at that time the firstborn child of their father's first love, so to speak, and he loved him so much, and he treated him like a favorite and gave him things that maybe they didn't have access to. They let that jealousy work for them, and because they let that jealousy work for them, they ended up mistreating him. We know the story is it's an old story. It's a story we all know, but I was thinking of it in context of our lives today, because maybe sometimes some of the lessons that have been taken from this particular scenario is don't tell people about your progress, or it gives you the feeling of like guilt when maybe you have a vision for your life that is different from what the people around you have. Let me try and break it down. I'm trying to make my thoughts clear. It's like let's say you have a group of friends, right? And you and that group of friends, you're probably doing the same things and going through the same things. The best example is people who are in school, right? People who are like in college, especially. People will hang out together and they'll be together and they'll be doing the same things. But at the end of the day, when you all graduate, first of all, each of you is graduating with different grades. Each of you is graduating with you're not going to have the same marks. You're not going to, unless you were cheating, you're not going to have the same outcome. And maybe one of you gets a job and the rest of you doesn't. How is the reaction? Not just how is the reaction, but how are you feeling about it? Because I feel like, because of uh the example that I gave of the Joseph story, a lot of us have this feeling of maybe I shouldn't be rejoicing, and maybe I shouldn't be celebrating in front of everyone. Maybe I shouldn't make it so obvious if I get a breakthrough, if I get something and my friend doesn't get something, or maybe I should I should dim my light a little bit so that I don't offend the people around me, because these are people who maybe are supposedly in the same situation as me. But then the fact of life is that none of us is in the same situation, right? None of us is ever going to have the same outcome. It doesn't matter how much we hang out. It doesn't matter how much we spend time together. It doesn't even matter if we have the same blood, like we saw from Joseph and his brothers. They had the same blood. They basically they had the same father. They were brothers. And the fact that they were brothers, maybe it might have been like a feeling of it's unfair that he gets to have this and we don't. But at the end of the day, everyone benefited from the fact that Joseph was raised up the way he was. Everyone benefited from the fact that he was chosen the way he was. And God knows when he's choosing you, why he's choosing you. He knows why he's giving you what he's giving you. And he knows why he's doing it at that particular time. The fact is that each of us has a specific calling to ourselves, and each of us has something that we are supposed to be doing in life. And that's the fact that a person that you speak to and that you hang out with and that you feel like we are the same, because sometimes because we are together all the time, we tend to think that we are the same. And just because they're not having the same things as you feel guilty for getting what you get. You feel guilty for having the things that you have. And to be honest, Joseph's reaction, it was his own reaction. He had his own reaction. He had a healthy perspective about it and also an unhealthy perspective, because he did seem to kind of look like he was messing with his brothers when they came and found him after all that. But you can understand the saltiness because of what they did to him. But at the end of the day, he forgave them. And at the end of the day, they got back together. And at the end of the day, when you look at the end of that story, at the end of Jacob's life, he blessed each of his sons. Each of his sons had a specific blessing to them. None of them was left out of the blessing. And I feel like each of us have our own blessing. We have our own space. Like, we need to stay in our lane, for lack of a better term. So if something happens to you and you feel like it has happened to you at the expense of others, or while other people are suffering, and you feel like you need to not celebrate, the fact is that you need to appreciate it for what it is. You need to appreciate God for what He has done in your life, because each of us goes through different kinds of things. Some of us be going through valleys for years and years, and then all of a sudden we get a breakthrough. But we get this survivor's guilt because maybe somebody who's close to us has just lost someone, or maybe somebody who's close to us has not experienced the same kind of blessing that we've received. And that can be, it can deter you from moving to your next level. It can deter you from operating in the space that God wants you to operate in. So I'm not saying that you should boast. No. And I'm not saying that you should think that you're better than others. Everybody has a time and season in which things will happen to them. But at the same time, my encouragement is that you're not supposed to feel guilty, but you should flow in what is your timing at that particular time. I don't know if that makes sense. That's just the thought that I had, that you need to rejoice when it's time to rejoice, and you need to, if it's empathy that you need to have with other people, have it, but not at the expense of being hypocritical and not enjoying what it is that you've been given at that particular time. I hope that makes sense, but that's just the thought that I had this morning.